All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe and Goose. Continued change. In this episode, the crew talks about their experiences with change. We cover topics that range from new jobs, new homes, growing pains, new mindsets, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Leo Tolstoy and Nelson Mandela. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, we would like to say thank you and a heads up as the sound quality is still not up to par. We're still using Zoom. It's pretty good, actually. It's just not up to par what we're typically used to. So if you hear any static in the background, we may or may not, break up a little bit. But there might be background noises as everyone's, recording in their own home. So there might be, kids in the background or dogs barking. So if you hear that, please excuse us. But thank you for bearing with us. The content is still legit as usual. So kicking things off, this is a time of change. And I wanted to bring you guys a topic we talked about 100 episodes ago, and it was titled Change. And we use this article, and I want to bring it back just because I found that it was super relevant to what we're currently going through right now. Yeah. And a few episodes back, we had a show called The New Norm, COVID-19. And this is just an additional, support to, all those who are facing so much change that everything's moving at such a fast pace. And I found that it will still be valuable, hopefully, to someone. The article is titled 5 Steps to Embrace Change by simplelifestrategies.com. Anyway, I'll just run through them really quick and then we could, dive into them one by one. But the first one is start by altering the way you view change. Remember that everything is constantly changing each and every day and that nothing ever stays the same. Number 2, instead of clinging on to old habits, make a concerted effort to proactively create new changes for yourself. Number 3, if uncertainty is the culprit, reframe your situation by trying to see the positive, such as how change is exciting. Number 4, commit to personal growth. Number 5, accept change. So again, I found this 5 quick tips that you can dive into for an hour long, basically, for each one, but we'll just kind of stay on the surface here for the episode purposes. But I was driving home today, and I was thinking about this topic in particular and some of the points I wanted to hit, and it's just a very simple thought just came to my mind. What makes us successful when massive change hits us, and what makes us not as successful or basically kind of lose momentum altogether and maybe even step back in certain areas in life is when you have the ability to change. When you have the ability to adapt to change versus the inability to adapt, right? And so it's those folks who can, whether they like it or not. So this is the biggest thing. So some people are like, oh, I don't like change. Sure. I don't even understand what that means because that's all life is constantly changing. Yeah. Even like the days, today we'll never see today ever again. That's it. Mark it down as history. So tomorrow's a new, it's a new day. It's always different.
It's not Groundhog Day.
Yes. And so I have not yet, and maybe there is, and I'm not saying that we are obviously creatures of habit, and I'm not saying that, like, crazy successful people don't have habits of their own and they do like a routine. I get that. Yep. But when there's a time where you have to make adjustments and you don't because you are not comfortable with change, I think that's where the growing pains part comes. But you're sliding in the wrong direction. So if I embrace the change, I'm going to have a growing pain, but at least it's going to go in the positive direction and it's going to stretch me, in a good way. Whereas if I don't embrace a change, I'm going to have a growing pain because either I'm going to lose momentum. So now I'm going the opposite direction. And so there's still a stretch there, hence the growing pain. And I think it's kind of, the sharp thinkers, the creative thinkers, these are the people that constantly are able to make adjustments. And when you're able to make adjustments in chaos, you're just going to you're going to stack the odds, towards your favor. But yeah, and I think it's the way we view change, right? If we're to the understanding that everything truly is changing, I mean, think about it. Every single day we get older, we're a little bit different.
Yes.
I think the change comes. It's almost like, now we're in our quarantine days still, right?
Yeah.
And your hair grows little by little, right? And you don't know that you didn't have a haircut. Like, you don't have a haircut. We don't realize how long it actually is until you saw like a before and after picture.
Yeah.
Because each day you're staring at your hair and you're just kind of getting used to it. And then all of a sudden that one day comes where it's like a month later and you're like, all right, my hair is like way too long for comfort.
Down to the floor.
But it didn't just happen overnight, right? Like your hair didn't get that long curling inside your ears or whatever overnight. It just gradually happened. And so change is happening. Although day by day, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm shaving, it doesn't necessarily look like much is happening, right?
Sure.
But that starts adding on. That's kind of the same thing with, the daily, I guess, embrace of what's going on in the world versus if something catastrophic hits, like a massive change instantly, obviously that's totally different, right? And you're faced with choices. You have to make the decision. Am I going to adapt? Am I going to just freeze? Am I going to not adapt? Two of them, you're moving backwards. One, although you're not comfortable, you're still moving forward. So here's the thing. When we hear people talk all the time saying, "Oh, I'm not good with change. I don't like change. I like routine." It's not saying routine. I'm not getting off that. But the change aspect, it doesn't mean people are comfortable, right? Because just because I embrace change doesn't mean like, oh, I like change. I like being different. I like something fresh every. It's not that, bro. It's like I'm doing this because I have to. You know what I'm saying? Like. It's gonna happen anyway, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like this change is gonna happen. I need to make a decision and start acting on it. Otherwise, me just sitting around moping about it, complaining about it, it's not going to help my situation. How can I now make this new change or this new reality of mine improved?
Because then, look, embracing it gives you a better perspective of like a new avenue to kind of explore, if anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also do think it brings you, it confronts you with maybe some old habits that you need to remove.
Sure.
Right? And it's kind of maybe life challenging you and saying, hey, listen, it's time to drop that old habit. It's not benefiting you anymore. It's time to embrace a new version of yourself. And one of those part of that, conversion, so to speak, is dropping some old wires and upgrading to some new gear, a new charger, so to speak, for your phone. There's a couple of companies out there that have phone chargers that aren't the best quality for whatever reason. But you ever see one like right at the end, it kind of like breaks off and the wires are kind of like, it looks like they're splitting out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. After a while, that charger is not going to be very effective. That charger is not going to be, the number one thing on top of it just being dangerous, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine not upgrading your charger. Eventually, you're going to get hurt. And it's the same thing with an old habit. Yeah, those habits might have served you well for the old you. Yeah. But the new you need that new charger. It's just not going to work. And you even see certain, phones now, old chargers don't even fit. So the ports are they're different sizes, shapes, whatever. They get upgraded to something we hope is an improved version.
Yes.
But it's kind of like the same thing, right? You got to embrace that. You have to release the old habit, so to speak, and honestly, be creative with it. I feel like once you can be okay with the fact that the old you is just that, an old you, and see the excitement in what the new you is going to be. Going back to the number 3 thing, the uncertainty part, I don't know if there ever is. I mean, what in life is, a sure thing, so to speak?
Very few things are, like, for certain. Like, time is going to move. That's
right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, but like a handful.
Yeah.
But like the things that I guess we hold on to or put so much value into are ever changing themselves.
Yes.
Hence the uncertainty, right? And I think they make a good point with the new beginning. Sometimes we need the change. We don't even know it. Isn't that scary? There's a couple things, like early on in my career, I got new jobs and I was very hesitant in taking the jobs. And I remember thinking like a year in, and it was like one of the best, one of the better decisions I've ever made. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if I let my like self-doubts get to me and I would have never been in the position that I'm at? I would have never been where I even am today. It just would have took me in a whole other direction.
Or you'd be still where you were before.
Exactly. Was that scary? Yeah. Was that uncertain? Yeah, because there was no sure thing. I could have, I had a sweet deal. I mean, I really did. And then I embraced change. And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that, the person, my manager was going to be the best manager. No, there's just no guarantee of that. Or, your coworkers or the environment in the workplace. You just don't know these things, but you kind of have to take that leap of faith. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. For me, this is where my faith comes in, and I just pray about it. And if it feels right, then I go with it. And I'm okay with making a bad decision if at some point I feel right. Talk to my wife or my family about it, and and I feel okay. That at that point, I felt like I gave some thought into it, and if it's the wrong decision down the road, then we'll just keep it moving.
And you have the support of people who understand what you're going through, whatever.
Yeah, and then I'm also not beating myself up with all the what ifs.
Yes.
Like, what if I took that one job? Where would I be today?
Sure.
I thank God I have not yet never had to live with the what if, because I just went with my gut and I feel like I've been making the better decisions for me specifically.
Yeah.
The work for me. The other thing is when they say commit to personal growth, that's all part of change, right? I mean, everyone knows, and I know it's a worn out example, but like when you go to the gym and you work out and you're sore and you're hurting, all that pain is going to result, hopefully, it's not an injury. I'm saying all the positive like pain is adding up to your growth. Now, if you think about that, we're constantly talking about the physical realm, but what about the spiritual realm, the mental realm? And you're investing into yourself, into your mental toughness. And by doing that is reading books. And I know a lot of people don't even read books anymore. They read the books, but it's really like a book on tape, the old school, the audible.com, or listening to podcasts that are all about personal growth also, or listening to like sermons, like if it's whatever religion or whatever, you could do all that while you're driving somewhere, while you're exercising, while you're cleaning the house, doing the laundry, whatever it is. You can be listening, basically a university on wheels, what they used to say back in the day. So if you have a commute somewhere, you can, instead of listening to music, I'm not saying put music aside, but make a decision, right? So when you're driving let's just say you're driving into work every day for 20 minutes to an hour, whatever it is, on the way into work, for example, you commit to personal growth stuff. Or if you think music is a better option, do music. But then at the gym or on the way home, then you have to switch it to personal development. If you're putting in the 15 minutes to a half hour daily, that is all adding up. That's like the hair, you going without a haircut for a month. Eventually, you're going to gain something. Something will stick to a point where it becomes a habit. And now I'm well over an hour a day, almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day of just personal development every single day. And there's something to that. I'm telling you, there truly is something to that. I do believe we should all be lifelong learners. I think we should commit to that. And if you have not, I would highly recommend it, or at least consider it in a big way. And then obviously the last thing is accepting the change and stop the resistance. obviously, that's depends on the circumstance, but
Sure.
still, generally speaking, I think a lot of the times we miss opportunity because of our own resistance, and it's because of the unknown, and you're scared, and you're not really sure what's on the other side, and so you're comfortable basically, and now it's taking you out of that comfort place and bringing you into a new world, and naturally, that's not something that you like to do per se.
Yeah.
But I do think if that's embraced and accepted by yourself, the better and the quicker you can basically transition through that change. With all that being said, great article. What do you guys? How do you guys view change?
Well, definitely. Well, like you said, like it's a part of life. You can't expect nothing to ever change. It's like the world is changing around you. Like stuff is always advancing. There's always new, like, and all this stuff. Like now, more recent, is like you have no choice but to change because the world changed like overnight, literally almost. And it's like you have no choice but to deal with stuff. I mean, either you're dealing with it or accepting it. Is I guess one way to put it. But
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think even like what's crazy, like even for like just something as small as marketing, and if you use social media for your marketing, if you don't know that, the Facebooks and the Instagrams of the world are constantly changing like their algorithms on
yes.
who sees what when they see it. That is literally constantly changing, probably on a daily. I know on a regular basis. I don't know if it's a daily basis, but it's definitely always changing because I can see the difference when I didn't make an adjustment to whatever they changed it to. You could see there's a total lack of encounters or interaction with
Sure.
the outside world. Basically, you go from something that was viewed a couple hundred times in an hour to 2 views in a day. I'm like,
Sure.
what happened? I didn't do anything different. No, they changed, and now I have to now figure out what I need to change. I need to change or adjust to get better results.
Yeah, even like with me with the barbershop, we used to do just straight up walk-ins, and the shop would be like Tuesday, Wednesday. It's kind of like it was not as busy. It was just kind of like there were like our slower days, Thursday, but then Friday and Saturday was like crazy at the shop, and I had like the only thing I could think of is to like how to like manage it in a way where I'm not like exhausting myself on a Friday and Saturday was to make appointments because I can only do certain amount of haircuts per hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had to adjust my whole business, the whole shop from going from walk-ins to everyone's doing appointment only. And that was like, for me, it was like, I don't want to say scary, but it was like a difficult change to do. But when I did it, it was like the best change ever, like for the business anyway. Now it's like a little bit more organized. It's not as hectic and my clients, they actually adapt to that as well. Like seeing, like instead of just walking up, now they have to like set their time and make it, and they like it even better. Instead of sitting there for 2 hours, now they just walk up 15 minutes before their haircut, leave, like get their cut and leave. So like my whole business, I had to adjust to doing something, and then everyone else adjusts with it, and now there's like it just runs smoother.
Yeah. I mean, and there are the resistors, so to speak, along the way, right? Those were the people who are like, oh, I just like to just walk in. But the majority of the people adapted to the change. It made everyone's experience better. You got to think, as a barber, he has like 20 people sitting in the shop, waiting to get a haircut, by him and all the other barbers. That's an overwhelming thing, and you're just on stage, quote, you feel like you have to perform fast, but you also want to give a quality cut, and you want to get everyone in, and people are grunting while they're sitting in the chairs waiting, and people are butting in front of each other. It becomes a little tiny disaster every single day, and so the experience might not have been for everyone, but for the majority, when you changed over to appointments. Because I know there was something else like, oh, well, now I got to download an app, and now I got to go to this website. And there was whatever you call like that little resistance in the beginning, but once people, I guess, saw the benefits outweighed the little small pain that the change caused. But once you realize, like, wait a minute, I don't have to sit around and watch 10 other dudes get their haircuts because and I've been in here since 8:00 in the morning. It's now 2 p.m.
Yeah.
and my whole Saturday's shot. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and I know like a lot of people like they wouldn't come to my shop because they didn't have that time to like. They're like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna sit there for 2 hours. I can be productive doing something else in those 2 hours, and then like instead of like what I mean. So now they can do whatever they got to do. Come in, like block off an hour of their day or whatever to get a haircut, and they can go instead of 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you just sit. It's I don't know, but it definitely changed like a different type of clientele as well too.
And that's for a boatload of industries, right? I know that in the healthcare industry, when the transition from the paper records to the electronic medical record, that transition. I mean, you have certain physicians that were champions of the change, and then you had some physicians, the old school ones, I would say, fighting every bit of it.
Yes, I remember we transitioned was probably at this point it's like 10 years ago. It was like, nobody wanted to have an electronic chart because it was like they were so used to having the entire chart in front of them because you had this encyclopedia of the past 10 years of the patient seeing you. But then all they did was upload the last couple of years. But then as of now, like obviously everything's there now, but it's like it's much better on the front end because you can actually read what's in the chart now, not the doctor scrabble.
Yes, absolutely. Have you ever had, and this might be kind of like a little bit of repeat, but it's good for folks that have not heard it yet. But have you ever had an unexpected change where, you had to make a lot of adjustments in an unexpected, short period of time? I know for myself, one of the most basic ones was, my wife's car was giving us trouble for a while. Not for a while. It was getting to a point where
it was nickel and diming.
It was basically nickel and dimes, yeah. But it wasn't to the point where it's like, all right, this is shot. It was like, all right, now let me, let's fix this, let's repair that, let's replace this. But for it to completely like die on us on one random Saturday morning was unexpected. I was not expecting for that whole thing. It was more like, let's replace, because it felt like you replaced the whole dang thing. After a while, you're fixing it so much. You're like, well, what's? Well, then we ended up getting her a brand new car. But the part was, I was fighting that, right? Yeah. That whole time, I kept taking it to the shop. I'm like, they're like, dude, it's time for a new car. It's time for a new car. You got to get something. No, just $400 there, $200 there, $600. All that stuff was adding up. And then all of a sudden one day I'm driving in, to work, and boom, it's just
gone.
That's it. I mean, that's it. And all that stuff, it was like, I was making changes to like just get by.
Sure.
If that makes sense, right? We were just fixing it till the next little thing went wrong, right? And it was really nothing wrong.
You would put a bunch of Band-Aids on it, essentially.
Yes. And it was just crazy timing, man. I mean, it really was. It happened literally in December, and so there's just so much going on. And I'm like, this can't be happening right now. Christmas is in a week. Yeah. And here I am. Now I don't even have a car. It's like, this is crazy. But we adapted. We made decisions really quick, and over, luckily it was over a weekend, so we had time to think. Nothing was really open on a Sunday. So it gave us Saturday the whole day, and then Sunday the whole day. By Sunday night, we made a decision, and we're ready to rock and roll. But that happened so fast. I was like, dude, we have to make adjustments. We have to change. We have to figure this out. We both commute a decent distance. It's not like I can just like walk to my job or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that happened unexpectedly, but I still think it's in our nature to make adjustments and to react. It's just how quick. The toughest part, I think, is making a quick, accurate decision. Is what's I think is the toughest part.
Sure.
But yeah.
No. For me, it was like with the my barbershop that was on Radcliffe Street. Obviously, was there for 7 years. The building sold, so got like a new owner, and he didn't want to honor my lease. So his lease was like outrageous. It was something like it almost doubled my rent. So I had to like go and call like the local like real estate agent in town that knew what the market was in town and like where can I had no choice but to move to another space. So I had to do it within 2 months. I mean, in a business sense, that's like a short period of time. Like, dude, you got to make a decision. You got to come up with the money to renovate, to make it fit your business. Like there was like a lot going on and it happened like really, really fast. I mean, at the end, it was like a smooth transition, but it was just like an unexpected thing. Like I thought I was gonna be on that little shop forever. And then someone tried to take over and whatever and kind of forced me into a different direction. So I had to adjust. I had no choice but to adjust into something else, which was it was probably like the best thing for the business anyway, but it was just yeah, and then it's at the same time when you do adjustments, it's always good to have like a supporting cast, like friends, family. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we'll help you out. We'll do this, we'll do that, or whatever." Because some changes you can't do it by yourself. Like some like Jim with your car, that was like a change that you and your wife made a decision on. So for me, it was like me. I have employees. I have like customers, my family. I had kind of consult with a lot of people before I made that change. So I mean, like I said, and it wasn't easy, but I did it, and if I didn't do it, then like you said, with your job, you're like, dang, like if I didn't do this, I would be like stuck in the spot where, like now I actually did it, and it might have been like on purpose, a sign from whatever your belief might be, but it's definitely like, all right, you've been here long enough, you outgrew this space, just move on to this bigger space, and you can fill that in, and that's how I'm taking it as it is now, anyway.
And even before that, when you went from being an employee to an entrepreneur, or business owner, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, we all knew you were ready. You knew you were ready. It was a matter of certain things obviously lining up. You can't just, you don't want to be a knucklehead about certain things. You don't want to just make a quick move and that's what I'm saying. The decision making it's tough, but it got to be sharp and precise as much as possible. In your situation, something popped up and you jumped on it.
Yeah, you can't do these decisions like recklessly either. Like I said, there's people you got to consult with, like whether it's friends, families, or like freaking professionals. Like there's people you don't want to just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And just like my shop was 30,000 square feet. And then next day, if I get like a big warehouse, what's that for? Like there's no, it's not practical. So there's things you got to consult, and you got to make sure you take the right steps in doing it, and it should fall in place.
Absolutely. I think learning from your own past as well is going to benefit you into whatever completed version you end up being, but hopefully it's a better version of yourself. But reflecting on the past and utilizing your experiences to make those quick decisions will hopefully help. Mm-hmm. Now that you have the experience of being an employee, right? Just think about it. Have you ever thought about a time where it's like your boss did something or said something, and you say, "Man, one day if I'm ever in like a leadership position or business owner, I won't ever do that to my staff. I won't ever do that to my team." Yeah. And that day comes, and like, "Yo, I remember that." But that was based off of an experience that you had because you knew how you felt at that time, and you didn't want to put that on anybody else. It's kind of one of those things, and with all these experiences, especially with change, you can utilize them to benefit future decision making. You could also utilize other people's experiences for an improved situation for yourself, right? Even with the coronavirus, the U.S. and other countries were trying to make different decisions and follow a different protocol based on what didn't work to the first few countries that had it, were infected with the coronavirus, right? So they're making adjustments based on other people's basically failures or whatever it is, to improve your results, to improve your outcomes. So learning from your own experience, learning from other people's experience, and like Goose said, consulting with someone who might have been there, or even just reading a book that's going to give you a little bit of knowledge that can, you can put into your tool bag and pull it out whenever needed. explain a big change that you've gone through recently, or within like the last 10 years. Let's just say with maybe school, job, or home, a new neighborhood, and how you embrace that change. Goose, I know you just moved into a new spot. And how's that all like working out, and what adjustments did you have to make?
So for me, I mean, it's all the adjustments were like good because now I moved into, went from Levittown, which was like the town outside of Bristol where my barbershop's at. I moved into town. So it's like,
Yeah.
I really have like a 10-minute walk if I wanted to, or like a 1 minute, 2 minute car drive up the street.
Yeah.
That adjustment, it's not that it was a big adjustment. It was just like, now my time frame in the mornings are different. So I would have to leave the house at a certain time, like a lot more earlier when I was on the other side of town. Now it's just, but I also have like all my banks and all that other stuff that's on the other side of town. So I got to leave Bristol sometimes to come back into Bristol in the mornings. Like they're just like, I don't know. It's just managing my time differently now. It's all the same time, but I got to like manage it different.
Yeah.
Like in a sense of like, as I'm leaving the house or whatever. But then like living in the apartment now, it's just me and Lauren. Actually, this is our thing together as partners. So now it's like something we both have like something together. So now we're both paying the bills here. You know what I mean? It was that before we were just dating, and now we're engaged. Now we live in this place. So now it's like everything's like kind of put together, and like we're splitting we're paying the bills together. We have a joint accounts. Like that was different. So that's all that stuff is an adjustment because before whatever like my finances, my stuff I was taking care of it. Now it's like I do like the business end of my shop. Like I take care of my business, and then she does the stuff for our home. So it's like I gotta trust her with make sure she's doing the right stuff, paying the bills here, and then and to me that's an adjustment because I like to do everything. I like to kind of handle my own finances, my own things and stuff. But just having like the place, everything's like it's not just mine. It's like both of ours. So I gotta share this space, Like not that it's a bad thing, but it's just like it's just
changed.
I gotta change it. Yeah, I gotta change my ways. It just but it's all good. It's nothing like major, like where it's like, I dread it. No, I love it. It's awesome. It's amazing. I love our space. I love where I'm at. Right in town, right in Bristol Borough. So it's actually for the better for all of us. So yeah, it was an adjustment, but it was all a good adjustment, good changes.
Yeah, oh man, that's big adjustments when you buy, you get into your own place and stuff like that. There's so many little things you don't think of from, remember to, depending on where you live or whatever, but we ended up getting a place where I had to do the landscaping myself. So that was a total adjustment, plotting that out every week, knowing when the heck the trash days were. I got that all jacked up for the first couple of weeks. It's just so funny because it's so little and minute now, like when I think about it, but it meant everything to me then. And then just the whole situation is just getting adjusted. Like you said, it's all good. It's all good stuff. It's you still have to get adjusted to it. For us recently, one of the bigger changes for me and my family has been the kids not being able to go to school. And one of the important parts about that is now that we're basically homeschooling in a sense, because obviously you get the assignments from school, but you have to go through them with your child. The difficult part for us now is that both me and my wife are still working, and James is getting like a massive, probably like 2 to 4 hours worth of work every day that we can't start until we're not home till 6. And then we eat dinner, and then you're not starting until 7 o'clock, and it's become a big adjustment. And that was one of the changes where it's like, this is like a pass or fail, right? And so like we have to make adjustments. We have to figure this out. How can we make this better? And so we made a couple of things here and there. We're still working on it. Definitely not easy, but it's definitely a change we're all experiencing, and we're all feeling the growing pains. I know it's all good. But it doesn't make it, doesn't make it easy, right? It's not tough. It's not, it's tough on James. I know that for sure. But I think as the days go by, we're getting better at it. And I truly do believe it's making us stronger. Like my wife's texting me today. She's like, I'm definitely learning something basically every day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
Whether it's by something about herself or something that, he's learning. It's just, school's a little bit different. A lot of it different than when we, grew up. So it's kind of cool. If you look at it in that sense, we're definitely blessed. Gabe, what about you, man?
So I guess kind of along like Mikey was like, yeah, like I guess 5 years ago, like moving to a new place. So like before I was like the opposite of Mikey. I lived closer to work, and now I'm like 45 minutes away from work.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot big difference. Yeah, it's like now I got to find a whole new route. I got to wake up a lot earlier. I got to, do all that.
You went from the city to the suburbs.
Essentially, yeah. I'm like getting adjusted to that. A different, kind of like what you said, there's a different upkeep now, because before I lived in a small row home in North Philadelphia. Now it's a different kind of house now. I mean, there's a different kind of yard and everything now, which I didn't have before. Or anywhere close to what it was before. So it's a good change, because obviously you're in a better neighborhood, better all this stuff. So I was like,
yeah, I think if you look at life almost like grade school, and just going through the schooling system, like now that I'm thinking about it, it might help a little bit alleviate some uncertainty and some maybe even pain, just knowing that this is as they say, part of the process, right? So when you go from first grade to second grade, you might be, it's like, you're super excited. You got to think about like how sweet your teachers are, because they're teaching kids who are whatever 6, 7 years old, and the way you address a 6 and 7 year old is totally different the way you address a 16 or 17 year old, right? And so then you move on to the next level, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to third grade. We're going to third grade. Like you wanted to do it, but then you're kind of scared, and now you have a new teacher. Right. Yeah. And now you have a new teacher, and what's her approach going to be? And that's the way life is. Right. Yeah. And when you make a new decision, something is your new teacher, whatever that is. It could be your job. It could be your significant other, whatever it is. Someone's your new teacher. And then you go from third to fourth to fifth and to sixth and whatever. And then remember doing that jump from elementary school to middle school, that was a whole new world, right? And again, things got a little bit tougher. It got a little bit tougher, but then you realize it's for the better.
Yes.
And then again, the teachers change, and physiologically you started changing, even mentally and spiritually. You started gaining, knowledge and just going through different emotions, and then going from middle school to high school, and that adjustments that you made, and thinking like, oh my gosh. And again, at every level, there's a new teacher, right? Or teachers in some aspects, or even those around you, right? You didn't have the same classmates from kindergarten to 12th grade. Not every single one, I should say. You might have had one or two, maybe even 3 kids if you're lucky, in the same class all throughout your school career. But there's going to be new people inserted there somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how life is. With every level you go, you're going to encounter new people. It's how you make, what are you going to make of it? Are you going to make, more friends? Are you going to make enemies? Are you going to make a coalition and knock this thing out? Are you going to, join forces and go on strike? It's whatever, however you embrace that change or whatever you think is going to benefit you. It's almost like going through the school, our schooling system here in the United States. It's just, there's going to be a new teacher. There's going to be different people around you. You're going to learn different things. Topics are going to get more difficult. The one thing I don't know if will change is that, recess, you don't have it when you're older, but lunch always, something to look forward to. I guess that was always a constant.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's wrap this bad boy up. If there's one thing you could change in your life right now, what would it be and why? One thing. I know.
God dang.
For me,
question.
Yeah, it is, right?
Only because, I don't think I would want to change anything, because everything that's happened, good or bad, it's always like a learning experience. Like, I don't want to go back and change something, and then it might be a different result if I would have changed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in things happen for a reason. And again, utilizing all these experiences to help benefit from what your future is going to look like. All right, so there you have it. We like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Leo Tolstoy. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. The second one by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Continued change. In this episode, the crew talks about their experiences with change. We cover topics that range from new jobs, new homes, growing pains, new mindsets, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Leo Tolstoy and Nelson Mandela.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.